Do you want to know what happened in a season-defining round of Super Rugby? Stay tuned. Welcome back to Skinnybru Rugby, guys. As I said, it was a season-defining round of Super Rugby. There has been more teams knocked out and there has been winners for each conference. With only 1 week of the normal season of Super Rugby left, this might be the most important recap video of all. On Superbru, Venom, you won the round. I think it's your first time, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you won a little bit earlier, just let me know. And the leader for our pool is still Spoon, even though you did get the wooden spoon this week, my friend. I'm closing the gap on you, I'm gonna get it. Let's waste no more time. Here is the first game. The first game already proved to us this was going to be a tough round. The Highlanders going to a draw with the Bulls 24-all. The Bulls, they will be much happier with this draw than the Highlanders. The Highlanders could have reclaimed that third spot in the Super Rugby New Zealand conference. At least both the teams, the Chiefs and the Highlanders, are on 31 points still. But what could have happened, they could have snatched a wild card spot from the South African teams who still have 3 wild card spots. Then it was a bit of a gamble for the Bulls to play Andre Pollard in this game, to let him fly over from South Africa to New Zealand only for 1 game, but it actually did work out for them and they got that 2 points. It's 2 draws in a row for most South African teams. That is a happy away record. Then it will be a very hard game next game when they play against the Lions, the Bulls. But luckily for them, they have probably got their wild card spot saved up for them. I don't think it's going to be easy to get them from that wild card spot next week. Then for the Highlanders, it was obviously a very close game. The game was blow for blow, as you can see by the score. And the rest of the possession, territory, all those stats were pretty even as well. The Highlanders did seem to get those fringe gaps at the wide areas, like at the wings from the Bulls again. The Bulls' defense are just not that good on the wings, and the Highlanders ultimately did get around there. Naholo scoring 2 tries from it. For the Bulls, they did have a pretty good contest. Their defense was pretty good at the other areas of the field. They did have a few good runs, and they also didn't kick a lot of ball possession away, with Pollard being back and not having Libok in the team at that moment. So it was ultimately it was a good game. A draw, the Highlanders will not be that happy with that draw. The next game, only 34% of people on Superbru got right. The Reds beating the Blues 29-28. Even with this win for the Reds, their season is still over. The Blues, they probably lost their last slim bit of hopes to secure a wild card spot. They can still make it into a wild card spot, but the chances of that happening is so slim. I think it's probably over for them. All in all, it wasn't one of the best games, but the game did have 8 tries, so that was pretty entertaining. Higginbottom for the Reds really stood out. He put on a great show in his last game at home for the Reds, scoring 2 tries in that one, and the 1 try being the winner for the Reds at the end. Nonu for the Blues, he is still giving the All Black selectors some headaches and some food for thought. He had some great runs through the Red defense and they just could not get him. The 1 try assist that he did score, that he did make for Pulu, was great, where he just cut through 2 or 3 defenders and giving a nice inside pass. That's just stuff Nonu can do, and his defense was just as great as well. I'm sorry, I have to admit, last week I did give Hegarty, or actually just the Reds backline, a bit of stick for having Hegarty at fullback, and the line just did not work as well on it, attack and defense. This week it worked a little bit better than last week, Hegarty actually contributed 14 points of the 29 points this week. Then, as I predicted, the angry Crusaders would hit back, but I did not think it would be this bad. They gave a timely reminder to every other team out there that you're not gonna come to Christchurch and just beat us easily. Now they go into a bye next week with the quarterfinal at home already clinched. The Crusaders did beat the Rebels 66-0. It was a happy day for everyone who picked a lot of Crusaders in their fantasy teams, including me. They just scored so many tries. Here are the stats of the game. The Crusaders had 61% possession. They scored 10 tries. They had 23 clean breaks and made 16 turnovers and only gave away 5 penalties. That's how you become a champion side. Reese and Eno, both of them scored 3 tries in that game, and Mohunga, he was just exceptional, creating so many tries. I think he made 5 tries in that game, so he got 5 try assists. The Rebels, they looked like they looked back when they started in Super Rugby. They just tried to attack, but they could not get through that Crusaders rush defense, which forced them just to make mistakes like knock-ons and then holding onto the ball and giving away stupid penalties. The Rebels will play the Highlanders next week, and they have to get at least 2 points from that game if they want to secure a wild card spot. But you have to remember the Waratahs are lurking under them. They are 4 points behind them, and they are playing the Chiefs next week. My first completely correct prediction of the week, so including the margin, the Waratahs going down to the Brumbies 24-35. The Waratahs, they had a few bright lights in that game every now and then, but mostly it was the Brumbies game. The Brumbies, they now sealed the top spot in Australia, like the Crusaders sealed the top spot in New Zealand, with 1 round left, so we can expect some changes for the Brumbies next week. So they'll probably play a second string side. The Waratahs, they just weren't secure with the ball, giving away 18 turnovers coupled with 11 missed tackles, meaning every time they lost the ball, the Brumbies would take it, run at them, and the Waratahs would miss a couple of tackles. The game started out with the Waratahs getting 1 penalty and kicking at goal, and then from there on it was just Brumbies. Halftime score 28-3. Second half, the Waratahs bounced back, but they just struggled to get through the Brumbies defense, which was really great on the day. And then every time, or actually they've dropped the ball twice over the try line where they should have scored the try, but they just could not hold on to the ball. Then the Lions went down 17-37 against the Hurricanes. The Lions actually had the fair share of the ball, just a bit more than the Hurricanes. They had 53% of possession, but they missed so many opportunities in that game. In the opening of the game, they had all the possession for like 7 or 8 minutes, and the Hurricanes still just got the ball and scored on their first try. The Lions would really have missed Quagga Smith. He went off at the 25th minute with an injury. That's a massive blow for them. He won't be playing next week, and they were just not as good at the rucks as we expected them to be. The Hurricanes, Beauden Barrett got ruled out just before the game, and I thought their attack is going to suffer under it. Usually if he doesn't play, their attack isn't at the greatest. But they still pulled through. They actually still had a great game. Marshall at number 10 was good for them, and Laumape, he actually was brought into the game. Usually when Barrett isn't playing, he isn't brought into the game as much. The Lions, they conceded 20 turnovers in that game, which is not good at all. Their defense wasn't good as well, especially when the ball possession changed hands. So when they were attacking, they give away possession and the Hurricanes run back at them. Their defense wasn't as great when they were scrambling. The next game for the Lions is against the Bulls, and it will be so important for them at Loftus. As I predicted in the Who Will Win the South African Conference, which I will link up here, everything is still going as I planned, except for the Bulls actually getting 2 draws in New Zealand. The Hurricanes only needed 1 point to get a home playoff. They actually got 5 in hurricane fashion. They sealed the game when they brought on Dane Coles and Adi Savea in the second half. And Adi Savea, I think in the first 20 minutes he was on, he already won 3 turnovers. Then it was the Stormers beating the Sunwolves 31-18. Look, I knew it was going to be a young team playing on the week, but they weren't convincing whatsoever. The ball seldomly went past the inside centre, Dan Creel, but I'm not blaming him. The ball did take long to actually reach him, and by the time he got the ball, he usually didn't have any other option. Jean-Luc Duplessis, he had a day to forget. Usually he has a day to forget when he's playing against the Sunwolves for some reason. He gave a lot of pointless kicks, balls that he kicked straight out. He gave passes behind the guys' back. Yeah, he just did not play well. I was so excited before the game to see Edwald van der Merwe on the wing. I don't think he got the ball once, or maybe he got it once and he didn't have any opportunity to do anything. If he did get the ball, it wasn't from the Stormers passing to him, it would be from the Sunwolves kicking to him. The Stormers, they did cling on to the victory at the end, with Masirewa really coming into the game in the second half, a little later on in the half. The Sunwolves actually had 55% possession in that game and only 3 missed tackles, which is really good considering how they played a few weeks ago. And I don't think the Stormers called a good defensive display as they did. The Sunwolves are heading to Argentina next to face the Jaguares, who have already sealed the South African Conference as well for their top spot, so they'll probably face a second string team over there. Jaco Coetzee, he was the only good player for the Stormers on the park on the weekend. Herschel Jantjies, he got an injury early in the first half, and that would be a stress point for the Stormers and for the Springbok actually. He was looking good and I think he might have got a call up. Hopefully it's not too bad and he is back next week. Next, as SA Rugby said, the Jaguares going up against the Toothless Sharks 34-7. So that means the South African Conference is also clinched. All the top spots for all the conferences are done. It's only wildcard spots left. Next week it's going to be massive, with the Bulls in second spot going against the Lions in third, and the Stormers in fourth spot versus the Sharks last in the pool. The Jaguares finally look like a proper contender versus their old self, where they were just ill-disciplined and just got so many yellow cards. They are just doing everything over the park. They look like a full and well-balanced team and looks like a title contender actually. Then for the Sharks, they'll find themselves at the bottom of the pool this week, but they are still not out by any means. They are just down by 1 point. The Sharks have little to look back in this game. They just had an extremely weak performance. I don't think the Sharks expected the defense of the Jaguares to actually rush them, and from there on they did not know what to do. It was controversial when Dupree Senior took Bosch and put him to the fullback and put his son Robert Dupree at number 10, and it did not work out. Like they always say, don't mess with a winning formula, so I think we can expect Bosch to be back at number 10 next week. The game was played very late over here in South Africa, so with the Sharks playing so poorly, it was hard to stay awake. I knew from the start of that game that the Jaguares will win that game. The Sharks had a ton of handling errors and a lot of missed tackles, most notably one from Mapimpi early in the game, where he just gave a high tackle to Cancelliere and he could not bring him down. And the other one, just running behind Boffelli for like 22 or maybe 30 meters and never going for the tackle, so that was very poor from them as well. The Jaguares, I have to say, they did have a great rush defense, and one problem that they would have had from the game, the goal kicking at the posts. Bonilla, he did not have a good game in that context. But the back three of the Jaguares was excellent. All of them scored tries. That's what you want from them. Bafeli, he was exceptional. When he came into the line, you knew here is going to be scored. He gave great kicks as well for them to chase. One up and under where he actually caught the ball miraculously, where Bosch should have caught it safely. Next week we can expect the Jaguares to rest some of their big name players. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit that bell icon for any notifications. Then I'll see you next week. Cheers.